Hey everybody, of course Tim here again, and today for this counting lesson we are going to do dotted quarter notes. Now a dotted quarter note, unlike a dotted half note which got 3 beats, this one only gets 1.5 beats. So if you remember, I don't know if actually I mentioned this in this series, I probably mentioned it in one of the classes. What the dot does on a note is it adds half of its value back to itself. So think about it this way. You have, let's say we have a dotted half note. Well, a half note is normally worth how many beats? It's worth 2 beats, and then what is half of 2? Well, half of 2 is only 1. What's 2 plus 1? Those two numbers we came up with. That is going to be 3, so that's where the 3 beats comes from. The dotted quarter note, you have 1 beat, right, with the quarter note, plus what's half of 1? Well, it's only a half, right? So 1 plus a half is 1.5. So that's why it gets 1.5 beats. So to do a dotted quarter note, though, we need to know about splitting beats up into halves. Hey, we already know that. Remember when we did eighth notes, we were splitting beats into halves using 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, or depending on what number we have in time signature. So let me show you how to count dotted quarter notes. Alright, so we need a time signature. Again, let's do good old 4-4. I think that's pretty good for now. Move those measured numbers out of the way. Let's do a dotted quarter note. So here we go. We have a dotted quarter note. And the next note we're going to have an eighth note. And then we're going to have a half note just for fun. So, oops, that's what we did last time. We have a dotted quarter note. Dotted quarter note is going to take up 1.5 beats. So you can think about it this way. It's going to take up 3 halves of a beat. There are 3 halves in 1.5 because you have a half plus another half that gives you 1 whole plus another half which is 1.5. So how we need to do this is we need to say that this takes up beats 1. It takes up the second half of 1. It takes up and it also takes up the first half of the next beat, because remember we're splitting each beat into halves. So now we have 3 halves here. The first half is 1, the second half is and the third half is 2. So weird saying third half. But anyways, and then the second half of beat 2 is going to be there with the eighth note and then we get 3 and 4 and for the half note. So this is going to be counted. Now because we have things dealing with half a beat, whenever you have like a dotted quarter note, an eighth note, things like that, you need to split the beat into halves using the term and, as we've talked about. So whenever you see that, you know right away, okay, I can't just count 1, 2, 3, 4. I need to count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, also called subdividing. So you're going to count this measure as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So you have the dotted quarter taking up 1 and 2 and is going to hit with the eighth note, and then you're going to hit a half note for 3 and 4 and. So once again it goes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that's how you'll count that measure there. The next measure, let's do 2 eighth notes. Do a dotted quarter, our favorite. How about 2 16th notes for fun, and then you have a quarter note. So how are we going to count this measure? Well, we're going to count it as we have 2 halves of a beat, so we have 1 and here. This has to be the beginning of beat 2, but this is going to take up 3 halves, so it's going to take up 2. And what else? It's definitely going to take up 2 and, because that's 2 halves. And then you have the third half as 3, the first part of beat 3. Now here is the tricky part. The first half of beat 3 belongs to that dotted quarter note, right? We just said that. How are we going to count these 2 16th notes? This doesn't start, because all the 16th notes we've counted up to now started on a beat, like 1 E and a, 2 E and a. But what if it doesn't start on that? Well, you only use the second, like, or the part remaining of the syllables E and a. So what I mean is, 2 and 3 is taken up by the dotted quarter note. So we really need, and actually it's 3. Actually, let me write it out this way. Because we're splitting up the beats into 4, let's start with this dotted quarter note. This dotted quarter note does take up 2, 3, but it really takes up, if it takes up 3 halves, it takes up 6 quarters. So I'll show you what I mean. So now we're splitting up the beats into quarters. We have each one of these representing a quarter. So 2 is a quarter of a beat, E is a quarter of a beat, and's a quarter of a beat, is a quarter of a beat, and then 3 is quarter of a beat, and this is going to take up, actually it's going to take up 3E, sorry. So what I mean by it takes up 6 quarters, it takes up 6 of these. It takes up 2 E and because that's 4, right? And then you have 3 E, 2 more, equaling 6. And then we need to fill in the rest of beat 3 using the 16th note subdivisions. So this will be and don't worry, we'll do more of this later. And then you have 4 E and that last quarter note. So you're going to count this measure as 1 and, well, let me do this. 1 E. Let's just split them all up into 16ths. Because now we have the quarter note taking up 1 E, the second one taking up and, so let's go 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. Kind of tricky, I know, but we will go over this again, especially these kind of things. I kind of did too tricky of a rhythm here for this level of lesson. So if you're totally lost, don't worry about that. Let's say we have a triplet, 2 eighth notes, a dotted quarter, and an eighth note. So how are we going to count this measure? Well, we're going to count it. We have a triplet here. This measure is a lot easier to count. Trust me. You have 1 triplet, right? You have 2 and then remember that a dotted quarter note is going to take up 3 halves, or 1 1/2. It's going to take up 3 and 4 because those are the 3 halves there. And then you have and. So this measure is going to be counted as 1 triplet, 2 and 3. Let me start again. 1 triplet, 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that's how you, if you're ever having trouble with a rhythm, I suggest you chart it out like this with it using if it's 16th notes. If you're doing a 16th notes, you need to split the beats into quarters. If you're dealing with half notes, you need to split them in half. And then if you just have straight quarter notes, you don't need to split them at all, although I advise it because it just helps you count a little bit better. So that's really it for dotted quarter notes. Just remember that in 3/4 and 2/4, the concept is the same. Dotted quarter note still gets 1 1/2 beats, but you will have less of them. You can have less of them because 3/4 only has 3 beats, and then 2/4 only has 2 beats. How many dotted quarters can you have in a measure 2/4? You can have 1. And then you would have a half of a beat left over. And 3/4, how many dotted quarters can you have? You can have 2. I don't know why I do that, but you can have 2 because 1 1/2 plus 1 1/2 is 3. So that's how it goes. Next time we're going to do, let me bring my face back up here for a second. So next time we are going to do the time signature of 6/8. So we'll go over that, talk about what it is, and go from there. So anyway, thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you for the next video. Thank you very much.